Test, test. guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Mr. Joseph Holland, Deputy Commanding General, U.S. Army Medical Center of Excellence, and the presiding officer for today's ceremony, welcome to the retirement ceremony in honor of Colonel Daniel D. Bridon. I am Lieutenant Colonel Christina Deal, your narrator for today's ceremony. Stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the invocation by Father Felix Kumai, followed by the national anthem. Father Kumai.
Please join me in this long prayer for Colonel Bridon. Almighty God, we acknowledge your presence with us today with gratitude as we honor the service, leadership, family, and transition of Colonel Bridon. Today we recognize this God-fearing, faithful servant, a proven leader, and a dedicated soldier for years, marked by sacrifice, discipline, and resolve. You called Colonel Bridon to serve at a time and place where character matters, decisions carry weight, and leadership shapes lives. Through long days and nights, through calm and crisis, you guided him with strength, wisdom, and perseverance. Today we honor him. Lord, you shaped him into a leader who led by example, who set the standards, who upheld the Army values, and you gave him the resolve to make hard choices, the humility to listen, the courage to act. You placed soldiers and civilians and families in his care, and he answered that trust with commitment and integrity. We thank you, Lord, for every mission he accomplished, every soldier he trained, every unit he strengthened, and every life that he influenced. We lift up Colonel Bridon's family, Diane, Joshua, Jade, and Gabriela, John, Elizabeth, and Hogan. We acknowledge their silent sacrifices, their moves, the separations, the missed holidays, and the anxious moments. They stood strong on the home front while duty called their loved one forward. We thank you for their patience, for their resilience, their unwavering support. And today we honor them as full partners in this long and faithful service. As Colonel Bridon transitions from active service, we ask you, Lord, to guide his path ahead. Close this chapter with honor and open the next with purpose. Grant clarity for new goals, peace in reflection, and confidence in the future. Let the lessons of service continue to bear fruit in leadership beyond the uniform, in mentorship beyond the ranks, and in service beyond installation gates. Lord, we ask you to bless all who continue to serve, strengthen their resolve, sharpen their judgment, and guard their lives. Bless especially our senior leaders with wisdom, and unite us as one team committed to one mission. Also remember those who are not here with us today, those who gave their lives in service to our nation. Grant eternal rest in honor of their sacrifice. God of all generations, we thank you for the legacy of service represented here. May honor guide our reflections, gratitude shape our hearts, and humility ground our pride for service rendered, for duty fulfilled, and for a career completed with honor. In your most holy name, we pray. Amen.
you for standing, and Father Kumai for the touching invocation. Please be seated. We have several special guests, family, and friends with us today. We would like to acknowledge our distinguished guests. Major General Anthony McQueen, JBSA Senior Army Element Commander, Commanding General, MedCOE. Command Sergeant Major Jesus Gonzalez, JBSA Senior Army Element Command Sergeant Major, MedCOE. Major General Retired Barbara Holcomb, Brigadier General Retired Shan Bagby, SES Mr. Joseph Holland, Deputy Commanding General, MedCOE. Colonel Kevin Kelly, Commander, BAMC. Colonel Aristotle Vassalares, Chief of Staff, MedCOE. Dr. Randall Anderson, Deputy Chief of Staff, MedCOE. Father Juan Molina, Mexican-American Catholic College. Celebrating this momentous occasion and here with Colonel Bridon is his family. His spouse, Mrs. Diane Bridon, son Josh, daughter Jade Porebsky, daughter Gabrielle Hogan, son-in-law John Hogan, grandchildren Elizabeth and Jeremiah Hogan, sister and brother-in-law Angela and Tom Sedsiegel, and nephew Matthew Sedsiegel, father-in-law Gene Hopkins, sister-in-law Renee Hopkins, Uncle Steve and Aunt Debbie Bryden, thank you all for being here today. It is now my pleasure to welcome the presiding officer for today's ceremony, Mr. Holland.
Well, howdy everybody, and welcome to San Antonio. Some of you may be a little warm in here, but don't worry, in 24 hours, it's going to be chilly. Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and distinguished guests. I'm Joe Holland, as was introduced, and welcome to the transition ceremony. I call it transition ceremony because, Dan, you're not really retiring. You may be taking off the uniform, but you're a soldier for life. Thanks for being with us today as we celebrate Dan's 30 years of distinguished military service. So I'm truly honored and humbled to be here just to provide a few remarks about the impact Colonel Bridon has had on our Army and our Army's medical community. And before I get into some formal thanks, I want to say thanks to the Army's 323rd Band up there in the balcony. Great job. Thanks, Father Kumai, for a powerful opening prayer. Really appreciate that for Colonel Bridon. I know that you've known him for a number of years. And now to the family. Diane Bridon. Dan's the first to say that he would not be here today if it wasn't for you. You are the foundation of his service, and thank you. And to the kids, not really kids anymore, but to the children, daughter Gabby and son-in-law John from New Hampshire, daughter Jade from here in San Antonio, and son Josh from San Antonio, and Dan and Diane's two grandchildren, Elizabeth and Jeremiah. It's great to have the family here. Dan's father-in-law, Gene Hopkins, thank you for being here, sir. A retired Air Force Master Sergeant residing in San Antonio, and his sister-in-law, Renee Hopkins, also from San Antonio. Thanks to both of you for your support to Dan and the family over all these years. And a special thanks to all of you who have traveled all the way from the Great White North to the Republic of Texas. And I know that Dan's mom, Andrea, can't be here today, but she's online watching us. And thanks to the MedVid team who's helping us stream this live today. His uncle Steve and wife Debbie are here, and younger sister Angela Siegel, and husband Tommy and son Matthew, as mentioned before. Many cousins, aunts, and uncles, and friends originating in Buffalo, New York, who are watching via live stream. and also nephew Ethan with the 173rd Airborne Brigade in Vicenza. So shout out to those serving overseas, whether you're here with us in spirit or 7 hours ahead. And as we look at the front row, there is a special place held in honor of Dan's father, U.S. Air Force Tech Sergeant David Bridon. While he's not here in person with us, his legacy lives on in the officer we honor today. We know, David, you're looking down on us with incredible pride. And I'm glad that we've set aside a space for David here today. In that spirit, we've also got several distinguished guests. It was mentioned. Thanks, Father Molina, for being here with us today. To the Med COE Command Team, General McQueen, Sergeant Major Gonzalez, to retired General Officers Holcomb and Bagby, and then Colonel Kevin Kelly, thanks for coming all the way over from BAMC. Really appreciate you being here. So this ceremony is more than a formal farewell. It's a milestone that dates back to the earliest days of our military, a moment where our community pauses to say thank you for a lifetime. All your adult life, you've been wearing the Army and the cloth of our nation, Army uniform and cloth of our nation. But thanks for what you've done for the past 30 years. For Dan, we know that this isn't just the end of a job. It's a culmination of a storied career spent in pursuit of excellence. We're honoring 30 years of stewardship, late nights, deployments, and a commitment to soldiers with whom he has served, and those leaders, some will see today in a ceremony on this stage, who will carry his lessons forward. So while preparing for the ceremony, we had input from several leaders. Some of them are here today in this room. And we got some comments about Colonel Bridon. First, from Mr. Chad Nelson, sitting right there. He describes Colonel Bridon as previously his deputy at the Director of Training and Doctrine Development, using two words, passion and compassion. He said Dan's exceptionally passionate about being a soldier and leader, cares deeply about people. And at .D, as the Director of Training and Doctrine is known, we gave umbrage to him for being a perpetual optimist. And his, as his former boss, I can definitely say that. Never gave up on anybody. Never gave up on anybody. Really appreciate that. We also received a tribute from a former colleague and friend, Colonel Dave Paramore, who served with Colonel Bridon twice in Germany, and said Dan's greatest strength wasn't just in technical brilliance, it is in his calm consistency. When systems failed and frustrations ran high, Dan didn't just rely on rank, he listened. He translated complexity into solutions. He didn't just fix problems, he built trust. And Colonel Jason Wyman, I saw you out there, mentor during Dan's command tenure, said, Dan as a leader stays calm when things get chaotic. At Fort Belvoir, where Dan was a battalion commander, he remained with a steady hand in that leadership position. He led with wisdom, humility, and just enough humor to keep us grounded. Speaking of Fort Belvoir, here's a little humor. Major General retired Mike Talley remarked to me last night, he remembers Dan's extraordinary contributions as well. In fact, he's reminded of Dan pretty frequently. Don't know how frequently, but he is. When he sees a picture of Dan with his soldiers from his command tenure displayed in a larger-than-life mural of photographs of soldiers at Fort Belvoir in a prominent place. So the next time you're at Fort Belvoir and you go to the Class 6 store, before you walk in the store, that's Dan right there. So to understand the leader who Dan Bridon is, let me just give you a little bit of background. So a proud native of Buffalo, New York, and a true blue, long-suffering Bills fan who is waiting yet another year. Dan comes from a proud legacy. Hey, the Chiefs bowed out really early. So Dan comes from a proud legacy of services described earlier. Born at Altus Air Force Base, so he's an Okie. 56 miles west of Fort Sill. His father, David, was stationed there and worked as a master mechanic on C-5A Galaxies. Coincidental that they're down here now. But Dan says He wouldn't have ever put on a uniform if it wasn't for his mother, Andrea. When Dan was 16, she gave him an ROTC scholarship packet and said, fill this thing out. And that led him to a 4-year stint at Canisius College in the ROTC program there. Dan graduated with a pre-med degree as a distinguished military graduate in 1996, one of the top performing ROTC programs in the nation. And so he began his career, interestingly enough, not in the medical arena as, we were thinking he might become as a pre-med major, but as a medical service corps officer and as what we call a 70 Delta. That's the Army Health Services Systems Management officer. And then over 30 years, Colonel Bridon served the nation so very well, bridging medicine, technology, and leadership. He served in chief information officer positions at every echelon, from medical centers and brigades to enterprise-level organizations across the Army and in the Defense Health Agency. His path was full of adventures. It's not just his path, his family's path was full of adventures. Some of we'll describe just in a few minutes. And those adventures include a number of family references. Some will hear from the family over the next few hours. Early on, Dan was happy to get orders to Fort Drum, but somebody else had a different opinion. Near his hometown, there's Fort Drum. But Dan, as we well know, got to Fort Drum, and what happened? He went to Bosnia 2 weeks after he got there. And it was the onset of winter. And his wife, Diane, a Texan, who had never seen lake effect winter, she got to face 150 inches of snow that year. And a temperamental snow blower and some serious grit, she got through it. But here's a funny story. The breaking point during that winter became a blizzard. When driving daughter to the orthodontist, she decided to pull over. And she pulled over and said, hey, look, I'm going to be unable to make the appointment today. The receptionist, who's a native of the area, says, well, when can we see you? Diane says, in the spring. Despite the rigor and challenges that come with a 30-year calling in the profession of arms, Dan's impact is historic, and not just because he's featured on an AAFES mural. From Bosnia and El Salvador to Iraq and Afghanistan, he ensured life-saving medical systems worked when and where they mattered most. This technological revolution ensured medical data arrived at the next echelon of care faster than medevac helicopters could, earning him recognition at the Pentagon and a Bronze Star when he was deployed for establishing expeditionary medical communications and the implementation of the electronic health record downrange. He also received the Mercury Award for an IT Officer of the Year. This is the highest honor any medical service officer could receive. And thanks to all that intellect that would have been not necessarily wasted in the medical corps, but now well utilized in the medical service corps. And so, in all of that service in garrison and combat, he's really kind of held true to his mantra. And at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, he worked unified command networks, medical networks throughout Europe. Here at Fort Sam during 9/11, he was the HHC commander for MedCom, managed security for 600 personnel, including the Surgeon General through lockdowns and anthrax scares. Some of you may remember that from 2001. He was a steady hand. Fort Belvoir, place of his aforementioned mural, he led a top-ranked battalion in historic form. At Reynolds Health Clinic, he navigated the largest transition of the Defense Health Agency into MHS Genesis, that we're still working through, all while building the 2022 Best Squad, which beat out much larger medical centers in that whole process. In his final assignment here at MedCOE, Dan shaped how we train the next generation of Army medical professionals, bridging innovation, clarity, and purpose. He was also a founding member of the COE's AI Governance Council, and really appreciate for everything that you've done here at MedCOE. So Dan consistently set the standard for excellence in both the medical and communication IT communities. His Army Green Service uniform he's wearing today tells the story of achievements and sacrifices that soldiers can instantly read. But let me give you a little interpretation. The ribbons, badges, and patches reflect his 30 years of service, skills, and assignments. On his chest, you see air assault wings and the expert field medical badge. The gold stripes on his right sleeve reflect his combat duty, as I described previously. Around his neck, can't see it very well, it looks like this, is a maroon ribbon, the Order of Military Medical Merit, or we call the O2M3. Overall, his uniform is extremely symbolic. It represents a lifetime commitment to our Army and nation. Beyond his service medals, Dan's expertise as a technical leader has been recognized at the highest levels of our Army. And as we reflect on the legacy Dan leaves behind, we see a career that was never about rank that he wears on his shoulders, but the value he added to those around him. For 30 years, Dan Bridon, Colonel One Each, has been many things: a proud husband, father, a patriot, a Golden Griffin, climbed glories, mountain soldier, an innovative commander, and frontier medic. He has survived the blizzards of Fort Drum. Actually, Diane's probably done more of that than he. Stood as a steady hand during the uncertainty of 9/11 and revolutionized combat medicine from Bosnia to Germany, Iraq, and Afghanistan, Forts Polk, Sill, Belvoir, and here at Fort Sam Houston. But Dan would be the first to tell you that the work isn't about what we've achieved as much as it is who we become. We are often challenged as soldiers to seek out three things: purpose, belonging, and success. And Dan has been able to do that for his team and people around him. And looking at this room today, it is clear that in some way or another, Colonel Dan Bridon has helped every one of us find those things for ourselves. Dan, as you transition to the next chapter in your very purposeful life, you are living out your own advice. Make every moment count. And this ceremony is a testament to that. You aren't taking things for granted. You're taking them with gratitude. So in the words of the great Marv Levy, that you had to correct me on here, words I know that are close to your buffalo heart, where else would you rather be than, or I screwed this up, okay? So where else would you rather be than right here, right now? In fact, there is no place we would rather be than right here, right now, celebrating a life well lived, over 30 years, a mission well accomplished. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's give a round of applause to Colonel Dan Bridon.
Thank you, sir. Colonel Bridon, would you please join Mr. Holland for the presentation of the awards? Mr. Holland now presents a token of appreciation on behalf of the 70 Delta community, which is a photo of the 70 Delta graduating class of 1998. Colonel Bridon was truly one of the 70 Delta pioneers, as this was the first graduating 70 Delta class. Mr. Holland now presents Colonel Bridon with a certificate of appreciation from the Commander-in-Chief for service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America. On the certificate is written, Colonel Daniel D. Bridon, I extend my personal gratitude and the sincerest appreciation of a grateful nation to you for your patriotic service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of the military service. I trust that in the coming years, you will maintain an active interest in the armed forces and the purpose for which you served. Those who follow in your footsteps will draw inspiration from your commitment, dedication, and sacrifices made to ensure the protection of our American freedoms. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Donald John Trump, Commander-in-Chief. At this time, Mrs. Diane Bridon will be awarded the Certificate of Appreciation by the Chief of Staff of the Army. Will Mrs. Diane Bridon please join Mr. Bridon on the stage? The Certificate of Appreciation from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Mrs. Diane Bridon, on the occasion of the retirement of your spouse from the United States Army, has earned grateful appreciation for your own unselfish, faithful, and devoted service. Your unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible your spouse's lasting contribution to the nation. Signed, Randy A. George, General, United States Army, Chief of Staff. Colonel Bridon will now be awarded the Distinguished Member of the Regiment, and Mrs. Bridon will be awarded the Honorary Member of the Regiment. Colonel Daniel D. Bridon is granted and assigned the distinction of Distinguished Member of the United States Army Medical Department Regiment. This appointment recognizes contributions to regimental continuity, tradition, and esprit de corps by the order of Mary K. Izaguirre, Lieutenant General, U.S. Army Surgeon General, and Commanding General, U.S. Army Medical Command. Next, we will present Colonel Daniel Bridon with his Retirement Award. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the reading of the Retirement Award and Certificate. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, 20 July 1942, has awarded the Legion of Merit presented to Colonel Daniel D. Bridon for exceptionally meritorious performance of outstanding service, culminating a distinguished military career as the Directorate of Training and Doctrine, United States Army Medical Center of Excellence, Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston, Texas. Throughout an excellent career of nearly 30 years, Colonel Bridon's passion for the profession of arms, balance of mission, and commitment to excellence have allowed him to positively impact the Army. Colonel Bridon's contribution and superior performance are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect distinct credit upon him. The United States Army Medical Center of Excellence, the Combined Arms Center, and the United States Army. By the order of the Secretary of the Army, this 23rd day of January 2026, signed James P. Eisenhower III, Lieutenant General, U.S. Army Commanding. The Certificate of Retirement. The Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Colonel Daniel D. Bridon, having served faithfully and honorably, is retired from the United States Army on the 28th day of February 2026. Signed, Randy A. George, General, United States Army, Chief of Staff. In addition to the awards presented today, Colonel Bridon is receiving numerous other decorations and awards. While time does not permit the presentation of each award, these include a letter of appreciation and 30-year medallion from Mary K. Izaguirre, Lieutenant General, U.S. Army Surgeon General and Commanding General, U.S. Army Medical Command, and a letter of appreciation and command coin from Major General Anthony McQueen, JBSA Senior Army Element Commander, Commanding General, MedCOE. We will now conduct the flag ceremony. I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I stand guard majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident, I am arrogant, I am proud. When I am flown with my fellow banners, my head is a little higher, my colors a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am venerated, I am loved, I am feared. I have fought in every battle of every war for more than 200 years. Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, the Argonne Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, Guam, Okinawa, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, in the Persian Gulf, and a score of places long forgotten by all but those who were there with me. I was there. I led my soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. I followed them and watched over them. They loved me. I was on a hill, a small hill in Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-worn, and tired, but my Marines and sailors cheered me, and I was proud. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of countries that I have helped set free. It does not hurt, for I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of my own country. And when it is by those I have served in battle with, it hurts. But I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the bonds of earth, and from my vantage point on the moon, I stand watch over the uncharted new frontiers of space. I have been silent witness to all America's finest hours, but my finest hour comes when I am torn in strips to be used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle. When I fly at half-mast to honor my soldiers, my airmen, my sailors, my Marines, and when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the graveside of her fallen son or daughter, I am proud. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave. Dear God, long may I wave. Colonel Bridon, on behalf of all of the soldiers, NCOs, officers, civilians, and their family members of the Army Medical Department, past, present, and future, we present you with this flag in appreciation for your leadership and mentorship throughout your years of dedicated service to our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Army's newest retiree, Colonel Retired Daniel D. Bridon.
I didn't even get through the initial prayer without crying. I've written a lot of speeches, especially as a commander over the last few years, and I love it. I love speaking. I love lecturing at Mass. I love teaching. This was the hardest thing to prepare because I'm not teaching anybody anything. It's easy, in some ways to teach. It's really hard to sum up 30 years in 10 minutes. So go. And that's just hard to do. I don't know if it's because it's the end of something that was as Mr. Holland said, my whole life, my whole adult life. Or maybe it's because it's the beginning of something new. But I think Diane was walked into my office at 2 o'clock in the morning last night and said, you got to go to bed. You're not going to stay up for your party afterward. And I'm like, I got to do this because I don't want to let anybody down because that's why I served. And so forgive me if I fail to recognize you. All of you here that are present, I can't thank you enough. But know that I care about each and every one of you. And we've had, whether it's a short interaction or a lifetime, you've been important to me and the kids. That's a task made all the more impossible when there have been so many people along the way who made a difference to Diane and I. I'll start at the start because Mom's hopefully watching on the live stream. There's always a first cause. There is a first cause. And for my Army life, my first cause was my stepmom, Sergeant First Class retired Andrea Bridon. Couldn't be here. She's watching up in Buffalo, New York. My mom wore combat boots. And it's true, she did put that 4-year scholarship application in front of me and gave me an order to fill it in and turn it in. And by the grace of God, I was awarded that. And that's what started me on my journey. Thanks, Mom, for motivating me to go Army and be all I could be. Little did you know that so many blessings would come in my life for the last 30 years, not least of which are Diane and the kids and the grandkids, and the extended Catholic and Army family that we have now. Because of your foresight and your prompting, none of this had to happen this way. And all the goods in my life today were contingent on that one act of belief in me. It is amazing how God's providence works through one decision a person can make or a person influenced. And I thank you for that. Wish you could have made it down here. I love you, Mom. Stay safe up there. I can't imagine what the weather's going to be like when we're at 2-degree wind chills in Texas. So I went to the ROTC at Golden Griffin Battalion in Canisius, Buffalo, New York. I see Colonel retired Sang Han is here. We've been missing each other for 30 years. We were supposed to meet for wings at the Anchor Bar near D.C. We were supposed to meet a few other times. And so you flew down here. He dropped everything and flew down here. He's got to get back tonight before the ice comes to take his son to soccer, hockey, tomorrow, of course, up there. Yeah. I really appreciate you coming down. It's amazing. I think, did Dr. Jeff Wright make it? I don't think he made it. So he called it a fake storm. He was a physiatrist up at Fort Hood for most of his career. And he was the guy on the top bunk for 2 years at Canisius in my room. So if you were to see it, you'd know him when he walks in a room because he's been lifting weights for the last 30 years since college. And I like to think that obviously making him climb into that top bunk for 2 years really set him down the path of being the beast of a doc that he is. Every ceremony he's tried to get down, my lieutenant colonel ceremony, and it's appropriate because his last name is Wright, but his nickname in college was wrong, and I glossed him with that nickname. And sure enough, when I was being promoted to lieutenant colonel here in San Antonio, he's like, "All right, I'm coming." And I get a text, I'm in a meeting in DHA, and it says, "Hey, I'm here for the promotion ceremony." I'm like, "Jeff, it's next Friday." He had cleared his whole patient schedule for the wrong Friday because he's wrong. I love you, brother. I'm going to come up to that ranch, and we're going to blow stuff up. The man has like 5 sons. He finally had a daughter, but he's like shooting. He has become a Texan, truly. I just think I'm a Texan because I bought some cowboy boots and built a house here. Most of my kids were all born here, but he's like shipped a World War II barracks to his ranch in Lampasas, and like has lots of explosives. A cool guy. So I miss you, brother. There's so many more. I mean, Biscuit promoted me to colonel up in Buffalo at the Golden Griffin Battalion back in 2018. Moo, Neen House might be watched. Sergeant Blizzard, Mello, Cordova, Knuckles. There's many others that may be watching online. Derek Cordas, my best friend from college. First time I brewed beer, senior year of college with Derek Cordas, my best buddy from Poland. He and I lost our dads this year, not too many months apart. He's my Shaggy to my Swami. Shaggy and Swami, that was when we named our beer, the one we brewed the first time. He's continued to brew. I went to Europe, and it made it a lot easier. I didn't have to brew anymore. I just drank the beer there. Brewer, chef extraordinaire. I had some money because I got that stipend in ROTC. What was it, $100 a month? I don't know what they get now. What do you get now? Hundreds of dollars a month, probably. But that $100, I would buy food, and Derek would cook it, and I would let him eat it. And so all I had to do was just go buy the food, and he's just an exceptional chef and my best friend. So, brother, thanks for cooking all the food I bought for us in college. You're one of a kind. I look forward to seeing you in Tammy soon this year. So the Golden Griffin Battalion, we won the Founders and Patriots Award, the best ROTC battalion east of the Mississippi for the year that we were there, Jeff and Sang and some of those other guys. And so we were trained to go be medical platoon leaders, in my case as a medical service corps officer, infantry platoon leaders. And so we knew what we needed to do and what we were created for. And I came here to what was called Officer Basic Course in 1996, and my orders said Brooke Army Medical Center. And I thought, and no offense, Kevin, and God bless you, thanks for coming. We were commanders together across the distances and shared some advice. But I thought my career was over. I was like, I'm supposed to go to the 82nd Airborne Division, jump out of planes and eat snakes and do cool stuff. And you're sending me to a medical center? Best thing that ever happened to me. Best thing that ever happened to me. Is Jerry Natalino here? Jerry? I don't see her. She, hopefully she didn't get hung up at the gate. But she was like one of my moms. I showed up as this like gangly second lieutenant, nerdy. Hadn't met Diane yet, so she hadn't cleaned me up and made me presentable to the world. But these ladies that worked in the Information Management Division took me under their wings, taught me the ropes, and showed me that it's great to be an IT leader in a hospital because you get all the cool toys first. Then you give them to the docs later. You get to play with them first. So I thank all of you, Doug Mills, Tom Whitman. I mean, that old photo of us, there's a bunch of 70 Deltas there. We went through that first one here at the schoolhouse. And it's still going. It's changed a lot since 1998. We used to have CC mail and all sorts of other crazy applications that don't exist anymore. Can you imagine not having a cell phone? We had beepers. I found a picture of me with a beeper on my belt. Colonel Dan Crowell might be watching from his boat in the Atlantic. He's a pirate now, but for 30 years he was a colonel in the Medical Service Corps of the 70 Delta, and one of the great mentors I had. I always told people I was a Delta because I got to inspire and influence the smartest people in the organization to solve hard problems with technology and deliver health care with that talent. And it was so fun seeing smart people solve hard problems. Andy Smith, Bev Beavers, Dee Barrow, I think, is here. Some old 70 Delta Terry Shanahan, Colonel retired, lots of retired colonels. Leach, Cordero, Wynn, Mark Malott, Mary Peters, Eric Berard, I think, is here. Thanks for coming. Leslie Smith, Chad Fletcher, Jim Morris, and Jeff Marks, great 70 Deltas. Learned a lot from each other and kept each other going, especially when we were downrange, trying to convince docs to use